So raising a child is not an easy thing. It takes a life for a parent to raise. So it starts from 10 years to 60 years. But what I feel is when they come to school, it's just a path. It's just a path.
Over the past decade, the relationship between parents and schools has undergone a drastic transformation. Today's parents are more informed, they have access to unlimited information, are deeply invested in their children's educational journeys, and are extremely vocal about their expectations from schools. At the same time, concerns around academic performance, mental well being, digital safety, future careers, and holistic development have aggravated parental anxiety, making schools accountable in new and unprecedented ways. This evolving dynamic raises an important question. The 2026 parent, informed, anxious, and demanding. Are schools ready? Good afternoon and a warm welcome. I'm your host Nitya Krishnamurthy, and you're watching Think Tank presented by My School Admission, powered by Education Today, along with our media partner Education News Network. To explore today's important and timely topic, we are in conversation with Dr. Veda Baisani, Principal of Apollo National Public School, Bangalore. Welcome, ma'am, and thank you for being with us today.
Namaste. Thank you for hosting for the day.
So, ma'am, starting with our topic, parents today have access to endless information online. So, has this, in your opinion, made parent-school partnerships stronger or more complicated?
I think here parents are both confident. I mean, the partnership is actually stronger. Along with that, they are more confident as well. It is both. See, AI or Google, whatsoever it is, it can provide information. But the schools and the parents have to actually connect with each other to interpret the data, whatever is being given online. That is what is required now. You can get humongous information, you can get loads of information, but wisdom, I don't think so you can get through information, whatever it is. The wisdom comes through interpretation, sitting, experience, talking over, and discussion and experience. Everything over a period of time we get wisdom. So probably when we start connecting and understanding what exactly it is required, probably there will be a way of understanding what is that information. So before they come to school, they read articles, they get messages, they get everything about the school now, because every school in India will have some or the other way where they try to put up in the media as it is, and all the schools have that accessibility except in rural, in few areas. Nowadays even they are prone to that, and information is enhanced, and any information which is negative, it picks up like this. Any information which has some form of masala, it picks up like that. So probably how much information they get, whether that information is aesthetic, whether that information has some clarity, how much information is really required is what the schools from our end need to develop and give it to the parents. That's what we try to always, do that. So getting information is good, but how much information you need to actually take it up, what that information needs to understandable for the parents, and how the schools can bring that, compatibility is what we look at it.
But with parents being so informed, are they challenging schools and educators?
As I told you, yes, it's not challenging exactly. Good that the parents are getting information, because they know, they come with the prior information. When they come, they know what is happening, everything. We also have a comfort zone to explain that what is hit and everything. So more than challenging, I feel very strongly it is the connectivity, whatever it happens. So it is good. So the consistency of what we give at schools matter a lot, to make sure that whatever the information they have got is correct. So we don't know whether whatever the information they have got is correct, whether it is really valid, we don't know. So that way we might have a challenge. But other than that, getting information is really good.
Right. So, ma'am, when a parent's expectations clash with what educators believe is best for the child, who should have the final say?
I think the final say is not, the question is not about the final say. So the question is saying about the school and the parent. But now the school and the parent are together for the children. So now if you have any disagreement, probably I feel the winner must be the child. So it's not the adult, it's not the school or it's not the parent. I feel whatever the schools are doing, whatever the parent is trying to actually bring in, it's for the child. So you have to keep the child in the center and we have to take the decision for that. Not thinking that, I am here, the parent is here, the school is there. Instead of that, let the parent and the school stand together.
Collaboration is essential.
Collaboration with the parent and the school educator community, and we will see the student there, and let's see after 5 years, 10 years, what exactly the child needs. That is where we have to look into it, and then we have to take a decision instead of just looking into it. You are a winner. Oh, my ego is there. Okay, sometimes it comes. The schools might have ego, the parents might have ego, but let's not worry about it. Let's worry about the child. For us, the children are important. So let's look at the children. The final product, for whatsoever it is we are doing, it is for them.
It's for the well-being of kids. So it's
yes,
important to come to a
yes,
conclusion together
yes.
and collaborate. Right. I agree with that. So ma'am, just coming to, I'd like to get some insights into how schools are dealing with things these days. So are schools spending too much time managing parental anxiety and too little time focusing on student growth?
Anxiety, yes, it is there. Parental anxiety must be there because parents know their children well. We can't deny that. Parents really know their children. Now, for example, we educators or the school will know students based on their development at school, the school classroom reality, their peer relationships, their kind of connectivity emotionally and also physically, whatsoever it is, the teachers or the educators will be able to look that and the school will be able to see that. But the parents are the one who will be knowing the complete reality of the students as well. See, we can play the roles. As educators in the school, we can play the roles. Now, the educator can play the role of a mother, but she can't become a mother, right? We can substitute home, but our schools can't become real home. So, we actually play the roles. We make sure that schools play a role of everything. Now the expectation is probably, educators must be teaching, educators must become counselors, educators must be their caretakers, educators must know the emotional well-being of the child, educators must have the complete mental stability whatsoever the time would be. So raising a child is not an easy thing. It takes a life for a parent to raise. So it starts from 10 years to 60 years. But what I feel is when they come to school, it's just a path. It's just a path. Now as the waves come, touch and they move. So in the life of a person, school is a part wherein that extra emotional and understanding effect will be more. So that where what happens exactly is we can feel that they come there, they stand for little more hours, understandability is more, sensitivity is more. So probably during that point of time, the connectivity will be more. So that connectivity happens when you have that passion for the children in you. So that is where we schools stand up and give it to them. So somewhere we feel that yes, anxiety is there, we have to understand and we have to take it up. And if we are consistent and if we are able to give clarity in what information they want, anxiety will not be there. So probably this way of progress will help both schools and parents to go hand in hand.
Right. And ma'am, you said that no one knows the child better than the parent. But does that hold true even in today's scenario where the family dynamics have undergone such a rapid shift? Mothers are also working, both parents are working, nuclear families are there. So then is that true in today's times?
See, I can't deny saying that mother or the father or the grandparents will not know their children and only educators. Probably mothers will be there throughout their life. The educator or the school might be there in a part of their life. Yes, we need to know and we need to understand that reality and we need to accept it. So I totally agree that, yes, they are moving around, they are passing around, they don't have time constraints and all those stuff. Previously, if you would have known, probably not you, because Gen Zs, I already see that they are into the flow, but we millennials, probably whenever we had some doubt, for me, I can give my personal experience. I never learnt my Ramayana or Mahabharata through books. It was my grandmother who always taught me that. She used to sit with me. I had a long, thick hair. She used to plait my hair. I don't know whether you know. They used to take layers. It was 9 layers. She used to take on one side and she used to plait my hair. Nowadays, even 3 layers, 4 layers, I've forgotten. See, what was happening is, that was the time when we were connecting. Actually, my grandmother used to sing songs about Rama, about Krishna, and she used to plait my hair. And after that, she used to sit with me, she used to read the book and she used to explain me. So for me, I used to understand if I fight with my peer at school, or I had a fight with my friend, I used to go home and tell, Ajji nange ivatti idaitu adaitu. Then my Ajji used to say, no, this is not the way. And she used to explain that to me, why it has happened. And she used to resolve and she used to give a moral for it.
Right.
Through the experience, she used to give a moral. They had time. We
So
had
these
time.
conversations and explanations
Yes.
are so important, which
Yes.
today's kids, I think, are not getting.
They are missing it because, yes, there are grandparents in few areas. They also do, but the technology, the screen, addiction, everything. You see Ramayana, Mahabharata through screen,
Right.
not through their mouth, because they don't have that interest. Probably we had that interest of watching in a TV because it was weekly once. So on Sundays, we were just waiting for Sunday, sitting in front of the camera to watch that. But now you want it, immediately you get it and you see, where is that interest? Where is that curiosity? We talk about curiosity, we talk about interest. Are we actually giving that interest and curiosity? That's a big question mark. So we had that emotional well-being taken care very strongly at family. But now the schools have developed it. The schools have bought in, the counselors, just not counselors, the bubble time with children, and each and every educator look at the students and try to understand what is happening. It's more of, understanding the students and going ahead. So that is also collaborated and we are taking ahead. So somewhere I feel, wherever that is missed in the family, the schools are becoming and taking it ahead. So it is again a collaboration and they are moving it.
Right. So from academics to mental health to career readiness, parents these days are expecting schools to do more than ever. So where do you think schools should draw the line in such a case?
No, we can't draw a line, but we have to always collaboratively work together and go ahead. As rightly said, they expect us to be a counselor, they expect us to be sometimes a life coach. In fact, sometimes they expect us to be a friend. They say teachers have to behave like friends, then only children will come. I say very strongly, you can play a role, but you can never become mother, or you can never become father, you can never become friend. You can just play a role. So when you play a role of it and you try to, bridge in the gap, whatever it is, we will be able to sail through. Apart from that, we can't say that we can't teach this, we can't do that, because our curriculum is being actually updated very often, every time. I appreciate that it is happening. And schools also have the liberty to tweak few areas wherein the implementation is in their hands and they are able to do. So somewhere when we just try to bring that and make sure that individually whatever the child needs, sometimes we have to do it, we can do it, because it's not that exactly we have to bring in all the 1,000 at one pace, but how we have to bring in commonly, we have to look into it and take it ahead.
Right. So if you could change one expectations that today's parents have of schools, what would it be and what would you want them to understand instead?
I feel that parents must also understand that school is just a place, it's not life. Because parents feel, if I send my child to school, my work is done. The schools have to take care. I hear parents saying sometimes, I am paying. Why am I paying? Am I paying it simply? I'm paying. So you have to take up all the things. If that is the case, why it is only 7 hours or that minimum hours the children are coming to school? So it is only for a span of 10 to 15 years the child would have that education. So they have to make sure that it is a part of a life, and our partnership with the school will make the child's future a realistic productive way only when we have that transparent communication with the school and a happy bonding with the school. So if they start connecting, and if they feel that through collaboration, through partnership, if we can work together for the child's progress, that will be a super good transformation.
Right. If the parent of 2026 is informed, anxious, and demanding, what qualities must the school leader of 2026 possess to successfully lead, communicate, and build lasting partnerships with families?
I think 2026 is too late. We have started before, to be very honest. We are no more administrators now. So we were actually completely with academics few 20 years before, if you could have asked me. But now we are into everything. We are an academician, we are an administrator, we are also counselors for the students and parents. I feel very strongly we are a bridge builder. I can tell that we are not a gap, we are a bridge builder between the school and the parents. So it's for that, I think whatever is required is transparency.
Right.
I feel very strongly that transparency, consistency, and clarity. These three I feel very strongly if a school leader possess. I think a transparent communication makes the parent feel very happy.
Right.
And also a clarity in what the schools are doing for the children, because all of us are for children.
Correct.
So whatever we are doing, it is for the children. So if we partner, and if we say that, and if we continue, and it's not that one day we give it and we forget. That consistency is what matters for proficiency. So if we do that, I think
that's highly
well
beneficial for
yes,
students,
yes,
right?
yes.
Absolutely agree. So, ma'am, you spoke about transparency, and we are talking about the changing dynamics in parents these days, families these days. So, in that regard, I'd like to ask you, social media has given parents a powerful voice, but it has also amplified comparisons, opinions, and sometimes misinformation. So, how should schools respond when perceptions formed online begin influencing trust within the school community?
Yes, social media for parents, as I tell you, they have loads of information. If they want to get into one school, they have about 10 schools, 50 schools flowing. It's rather creating confusion for parents as well, which they have to choose, which they have to get in. I see many parents coming to me and asking me, can you please tell me about which school I want to join my child? Because they are confused. They are totally not in a position where I have to take, because they want to give best to the children. It's really good. Giving best to the children is always good. But what needs to be given best is becoming confusing. So if they can understand, if they can have the clarity, for example, which syllabi I want my child to take it up, what my child really looks into, if their profession is something like that, it is a transferable job or something like that. So they have to look into if they have the chain of schools, if they can provide the same thing. So somewhere, if they can quantify their priority before, then it becomes easy for them to get into it. Though it has many things, but it is in your hands how you can give a prompt and take the things. So if you get that, I think probably it becomes easy. So yes, for schools, whichever parent come, we will be able to give the clarity. But for parents, I feel very strongly they need to have some form of information which will be given to be quantified and taken.
Right. Absolutely agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this brings us to the end of today's discussion. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences today.
Thank you so much.
As we conclude today's discussion, one thing becomes clear. The evolving parent-school relationship is not a challenge to be managed, but an opportunity to be strengthened. Today's parents are more engaged, more informed, and more invested in their children's futures than previous generations. While this brings higher expectations and greater scrutiny, it also creates possibilities for deeper collaboration and shared responsibility. The schools that thrive in the years ahead will not simply be those that deliver strong academic outcomes, but those that build trust, communicate transparently, and work alongside parents to support every child's holistic development. Thank you for watching Think Tank, presented by My School Admission, powered by Education Today with our media partner Education News Network. Until next time, this is Nitya Krishnamurthy signing off.